You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Jerome Corsi, and we have Cregg Lund back with us. Cregg is the author of Silicon Satan, which Chris will show you on the screen as we go along, and also our website, CorsiNation.com. Cregg has a section on the website that's devoted to his work. He's posting a new novel in sections and starting to do animations. It's quite good. We'll show you that in a second. But welcome, Cregg. It's good to have you back.
It's good to be back. Thank you.
And Silicon Satan, his book, Cregg started this. We've been working on this for 6 or 7 years. I mean, it seems like forever. It was not an easy book. Not an easy book to write.
No.
I mean, this is essentially Craig's life story fictionalized. And Cregg was a top engineer in Silicon Valley and got to experience the satanic side of Silicon Valley, and then managed to find God and escape, which is remarkable. And the novel is the journey into darkness and then out of darkness in Silicon Valley. Now, we're showing you here on the website. You can see here, Chris is now showing you, there's to scroll down, you see the Silicon Valley section, and there's new work on this. There's new work that has not been published except on the website. And this is Where's Wally Part 2. This is part of the new novel. And as you go into the section itself, you click into it, you get additional material, because you can see that there's archive material inside. And as you get inside it, if it scroll down, you'll see various of the cameos and special sections in Silicon Satan, which are covered, and they're very interesting. And new animations are coming onto these. If you kind of click one of the animations, you can see how they're really fascinating. And there's quite a lot of material in here. So I think you're going to get deeply into it. What we've been doing in these podcasts is to kind of dissecting the story and analyzing it, because it's a kind of a dark story of someone who is, inducted into the rituals of satanic activity that define the top of Silicon Valley. Now, Cregg, you're not saying everybody in Silicon Valley is a Satanist, correct?
Correct. And again, there's a distinction between the Luciferians and the Satanists. The Luciferians don't call themselves Satanists. They don't consider it satanic ritual what they're doing. They consider it their religion. But I just wanted to make that distinction that they don't see themselves as that.
In other words, they don't consider it evil. They consider they are following what the ruler of this space. I mean, how do they conceptualize it?
They consider their God, Lucifer, to be the true God, the good guy, the guy that's out to save humanity, and that our God is the bad God. He's the one who tricked Adam and Eve in the garden, and Lucifer is going to get us back there. That's the basic of their belief, and they find the Satanists useful because they can blame everything on the Satanists. Anytime anything goes bad, they just blame the Satanists.
Right. So they don't. But yet the rituals are. I mean, their rituals are quite evil in terms of pedophilia, the sexual rituals they go through, and they are. They're
very. To us, they're very evil. To them, they're not. To them, they're fun.
Group sex and drugs and orgies and killing people on stage in a dramatic way to heighten everybody's sexual intensity.
And that's just the buildup,
right?
So the goal of these like snuff orgies and stuff isn't sexual gratification. It's there's something going on. There's a purpose to it. There's a spiritual purpose to it. And Aleister Crowley is the one who kind of opened up all this sex magic, sex power. So they use that to get to whatever they're trying to get to. So the buildup is, I mean, all the stuff that we hear about, all the satanic stuff that we hear about, that's just the buildup to what they ultimately want to do.
And what do they ultimately want to do?
Well, it depends. A lot of times they're doing knowledge transfers, or they're gaining knowledge somehow. I never really got high enough to where I was going to those rituals. I would have had to stuck it out a lot longer and done a lot worse things than I'd already done. But I knew enough about what was going on. I knew how they were, or they'd put spells on people. They'd put spells on groups of people. They would, whatever it is they wanted to do. Everything is very ritual oriented, very ritual centric. Everything has to be, and that's part of their religion, and it's sort of a copy of what of the truth. We our religion, our worship is very important, and we do certain rituals as well. Well, they do ritual. They have their rituals, but they do them a lot more, and they're on the other side, so to speak.
Well, and they're dark rituals. I mean, you get and one of the aspects that Cregg is doing is also interpreting some of the current events in terms of the satanic nature or the Luciferian nature of what's going on. This one that impressed me the most is this red scarfing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when you hear someone has committed suicide in Hollywood, it may not actually be a suicide. And that want to explain that?
Especially if they hang themselves on a doorknob with a red scarf. That's why it's called the red scarf suicide. That used to be, I don't see it that much anymore, but that used to be a message. We just off this guy and be careful. This is what happens. In fact, I just put out an article about Gene Hackman. They kind of did the same thing, the humiliation thing to him. I suspect, I don't know, I wasn't following him, but I suspect he was going rogue. These old guys go, the conscience starts to bother them after a while, and they want to spill the beans. They want to come out and get it off their chest and go die peaceful. And I think he was about to do that. And not only did they kill him, but they stole his legacy. Now we all are going to remember Gene Hackman as some old guy who died in rat-infested squalor. And that's a message, just like the red scarf suicides, the red scarf murders. That's a message to everybody else. Do what he did, we'll do this to you too.
Yeah, and there's no out of this. You don't get out of this. Once you're into it, it's you're in it.
No.
You're what you sign is your life away to this Luciferian dedication, and there's no escape from it without ruin.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And see, in the article, I kind of pointed out that the old actors, when the Luciferians first infiltrated Hollywood, the old actors, the old movie stars, rose to fame and fortune and position, and they became hard to handle. They were going rogue. So that's why you see this new breed of actors in Hollywood now that are a lot easier to control. They're very easy to control, as a matter of fact. But the Gene Hackman generation, he was 95 years old, and I found a picture of him at 95, and he looked pretty good for 95. But the picture that they're putting out makes him look old and decrepit and demented, and they're doing that on purpose. Now, I don't really know Gene Hackman. I mean, I'm a fan, I guess, but you get to the point I got to the point where I've seen this stuff for so long now that it's really easy for me to spot now, and it's hard to explain, but it's very easy to spot.
So if you are not, you can live a normal life and work in Silicon Valley and never be part Luciferians. But if you want to rise to the top, if you want to hit the big time, you're going to have to join the cult.
Right. And if you've noticed, especially these days, the Luciferians, some people call them the Illuminati, some people call them the Jews, it's all the same group. They have infiltrated every institution on the planet. So no matter where you are, if you want to get to the top, you're going to probably you have to go through the rituals at this point. I'm pretty much convinced. If you want to get to the top of anything, I even see it. I'm even starting to see it in this podcasting world. There's a lot of money in it now, and when the money comes, the Luciferians show up.
Yeah. Okay, I want to go into some of the aspects of the novel because it's a great story. The story involves Raj, and Raj is a alter ego for Cregg, fictionalized, who grows up on a horse farm in California, and it begins in California with Raj as a young boy. About how old? Is he teenage years?
No, he's preteen when the story starts.
Preteen,
the story begins, yes.
Yeah.
I think around 10 or 11 when the story begins.
And one of the aspects of the story is the breakup of the family. And here you're seeing some of the animations that Cregg has done. Chris is showing them on the screen. And these animations are quite good. So when you read internally into our site, into the various segments and chapters and vignettes that we've got from Craig's writing, he's now starting to illustrate them so you can see the visualization of what he's writing about, which is quite interesting. And I think it brings it all to life in another dimension. And the story that I want to focus on today.
By the way, real quickly, writing the story was hard because doing the visuals is even harder because I'm re-seeing a lot of this. I just want to point that out.
And reimagining it. I mean, that's why it took you so long to do it. It's not easy to bring back to the surface all that you went through.
Right.
I mean, this stuff is, I'm sure a lot of it you prefer to forget about. And that was not easy to do either.
No, and I did an interview this morning, and it occurred to me while I was doing an interview that people are waking up. People are, I couldn't have talked about this at all 10 years ago like this. And people are now talking about it. But at the same time, people still have a long ways. There's still a lot I haven't shared. There's still a lot going on that I've just, I'm waiting for everybody to wake up a little bit more, and then we'll go a little bit deeper. But it's good.
I'm sure, your second novel, I'm sure, will go another level deeper.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's going to be a series of articles. And okay, what I want to concentrate today on is the story of Raj and really the breakup of the families with divorce, including Raj. When the story begins, Raj's family has broken up. Right? Is that correct, Cregg?
Correct. Yeah. So he's living with his stepdad on his grandfather's horse ranch. Pretty much the whole family is there. It's a large enough ranch that everybody's there. It's 3 generations of people, a family there. But his family is broken up. Yes, his dad has been gone. Doesn't even know him.
So his stepdad is Merrill. Can you describe Merrill? Give us some idea of the character.
Merle was a good guy, good intentions. He took on this woman who had kids, and it was during the 60s and 70s when divorce was still pretty new. Divorce was something that you were embarrassed of, especially if you were a family, But out where I was raised on the ranch, there was a lot of ranches up there, a lot of cattle ranches and a lot of orange orchards. And orange orchards, huge operations, and those families broke up too. The same thing. So these, the granddaddies start these operations, these enterprises, and 2 generations later, the kids are so messed up. My parents are so messed up that they lose the whole thing, and it happened everywhere up there. That the divorce just kind of ruined everything, and I think it's by design. Satan hates the nuclear family.
Luciferians hate the nuclear family. They don't want men and women together procreating children and raising them in a moral education.
Yeah, so it started about 40 years ago, and they're still doing it today. And look how far they've come.
Yeah, I mean, so you grow up in single mother homes, and then you go out on your own, and the single mothers are not that stable because they've now got boyfriends, and it's a mess.
Right.
But okay, so Merrill was the positive stepdad. What happened to Merrill in the story?
In the story, there's just a fight for control over the ranch. Who's going to control? Who's going to take over? So Raj's grandfather, Pops, has promised it to Raj without telling his uncle or his stepdad. And when push comes to shove, Merle just can't take it. Merle starts an affair. Everybody's screwing everybody out there. Again, it's a sexual revolution. So he gets caught messing around with someone, even who's messing around with someone else, and that's sort of the proverbial straw that sent him out of there. He couldn't take it anymore, so he bailed.
How did he bail?
He just packed up his truck and left.
He just left. One day he was gone.
Yeah. One day he was gone. A lot had been happening. A lot was happening at that time. The ranch was falling apart, It was clear that he wasn't going to take over. Most of the ranch had been lost through some shady dealings on my uncle's side, or Roger's uncle's side. And so, the writing was on the wall. It was time for him to go, and he wasn't really getting along with anybody anyway. He was kind of a goof. He tried really hard, but he was kind of dumb. Actually, he was a football jock kind of guy. So Clara, the mother in the story, she kind of went from her childhood sweetheart to Merle without really thinking, because she didn't want to be divorced. She didn't want to be a single mom.
Right, and the relationships, Clara and Meryl, and the relationships in the family are just kind of dysfunctional. Nobody seems to really connect, and they're all kind of at odds with each other. And there's a sexual undertone to the whole thing. Then Pop comes along. Who's Pop?
Pops is the grandfather who started the whole ranch.
Right.
So Pops and Raj have a really good relationship. Pop's backstory is he came from Texas and came to California to ride the real estate boom, and he was very successful at it. So he built his dream ranch, and his children lost it for him. So he ended up back in Texas, and, living in a neighborhood house somewhere.
Right, and the different characters that come in and out of it. There's Conrad. Who's Conrad?
So Conrad is actually Sloane's father.
Right. And Sloane is the girlfriend of Raj, and both preteens even having sex.
Right. So when Raj and Sloane ultimately end up getting married, at the same time, Clara and Conrad are getting married. So it's like he's marrying his stepsister.
Right. He's marrying his stepsister.
Right.
And that's pretty messed up. But again,
but it happens.
It probably added to kind of the evil excitement of it. I mean, they kind of out of the ordinary excitement of it. This is the edgy.
Yeah. Well, from Raj's perspective, growing up, his peculiar perspective, the destruction of the family was considered a good thing. It's like, oh, good, we're free now. We can go do whatever we want. We're young people. We're free of all this the generation gap. So it wasn't like everybody was sad about the families breaking up, even though it was going on all over the place around us. We didn't seem to care too. I mean, we weren't too worried about it, unfortunately. Too bad we weren't, because look where we are today.
Right, but again, the sexual activity between Sloane and Raj, which is beginning at this time, the other characters know about. I mean, Clara knows about it, and Conrad knows about it, and they're all kind of accepting it. It's like it's normal.
It's normal, and and they see it as exceptional. It's like, oh, good, look, I'm proud of you kids.
You're having sex already.
Yeah, you're on your way to becoming adults and living your own life, and go ahead, go do it. We got stuff to do over here. We're busy.
Right, we're busy.
Yeah,
right.
Go find something to do. So we did.
Well, it seems like all through the story, Raj is looking for a real father.
Yeah,
and he keeps looking at these, bouncing around, trying to find another one. And the people he's finding are dysfunctional. They're not really appropriate or right. So, I mean, he comes into Louis. Who's Louis?
Louis is a hippie cowboy out there. He was the head wrangler. Your consummate hippie cowboy, and he and Raj had a pretty good relationship for a long time. But all these men that came in and out of Raj's life, they either betrayed him or they bailed on him. And so he could, by the time he reached Silicon Valley, he sort of has an attitude about the world that I'm in this alone. I'm by myself, and I gotta figure this out. There's nobody I can go to. I can't trust anybody. But then when he meets these bigwigs in Silicon Valley, it's like, this is a whole new class of men. I'm going to hook up with these guys. This is great.
Yeah, well, and again, it's the sex undertone to all of this is always there.
Mhm.
and it's just kind of normal, and it's expected, kind of, almost. It's like kind of the undertone of the whole story.
Mhm.
I mean, and yet it's completely. It's not so much the forbidden aspect of it, but the fact that it's like you deal with Roger and Sloane having sex as pre-teens. Well, it has nothing to do with procreation. It has nothing to do with really understanding what sex is deeply about, but it
Mhm.
is yet enticing.
Well, when I started writing this book, I didn't really. I was like, well, how did these two people meet? There's just two people. It's like sex. Well, how did this happen? Let's start with sex. And I realized, like, everything kind of started with. I really didn't realize until I started writing the book how looking back, everybody was having sex all the time. Everybody there was orgies and just casual sex, and even sex that you kind of bored with. Um, and that wasn't the worst thing, though. To me, that was just sort of a side problem. The bigger problems were the rituals and trying to get out of that. But yeah, it begins with sex. They're grooming these kids for not just to be sexual, but to be sort of anti everything. That's good. You're taught not to explore sexually, but then when you're encouraged to, that means, oh, I can explore the other taboos as well. Because if I can get away with this one, I'm talking as a young kid, as a young man. If I can get away with this, if this is okay and good and fun and profitable, well, I'll do this too. I'll do the next thing. And pretty soon you got a whole big long line of things that you've done, and it's like, well, this is a lifestyle now. Now I'm on my way to something, and it's fun.
Yeah, and I mean the scenes. I'm just reading it. A scene where the two of them are essentially pulling their pants down and exposing themselves to each other, Raj and Sloane,
Mhm.
and just kind of laughing about it. It's and Sloane basically says that that she said that was fun, and she says, well, she doesn't want to quit yet, so she says, let's go swimming. Well, we don't have swimsuits. We can go naked, like we're both taking a bath. And so again, it becomes so much of a one thing leads to another. It seems innocent, but yet when you realize what's going on, it's again the breakup of the family, the sexualization of children, which the pedophilia aspect of it, which a lot of Luciferians have. There's so much of the pedophilia that goes hand in hand with the Luciferian nature of this, the Hollywood glitterati or Silicon Valley or New York upper society or any of these cult, dark cultists have to do with sexualization of children.
Mhm.
And why is that, do you think?
Well, there's a long history of why the Luciferians like incest, pedophilia, and the androgyne. It's really hard to explain just kind of sitting here, but it's more to it than just a sex thing. It's I was talking to these guys earlier today, and I was remembering when you go into when I went to that room with those guys, those old men. Uh, your whole world changes instantly, because you realize you're in a room with something that's connected, that's something that's very, very ancient and very, very powerful and very, very scary. And I mean, even if nothing happened, when you walk out of that room, your worldview is different. The analogy I was using is it's like if you had a Bigfoot encounter, and not just one where you think you saw one, but where there's these Sasquatches in front of you, and they're trying to decide what to do with you, and you can smell them, and you walk away from that experience, your worldview is going to change. You can't tell anybody because nobody's going to believe you. And when you hear other people talking about, well, do Sasquatch really exist? It's going to be aggravating, because you know that they do, and there's no way to tell them except maybe they're going to have their own encounter one day.
Well, you're talking about the initiation of Raj into the cult, which is the elders, these old men, these older men who assemble,
Yeah.
and it ends up in sodomizing Raj.
Yeah, what I was trying to get at, I guess, was the whole how deep the power, how much depth there is to all this. It's when you're on the outside looking in, it's really hard to imagine, what goes on. But I have had experiences where I've just, I don't know why I felt that way, but you can really feel something is with you. Something is in the room. Something you can feel the goosebumps. And it's weird.
Yeah, you're invoking powers that are dark powers.
Yeah, and they're here,
and they're there. Yeah, and so so it goes from Meryl, who's pretty basically okay in terms of taking care of Raj, to others like Easy and Conrad.
Easy was one of those take him on, take this kid under my wing kind of guys. A good guy, but with bad habits. Right?
And then you end up with Lee Nelson. Who's Lee Nelson?
Lee Nelson is kind of the main antagonist. He's the one that sort of brings Raj all the way in to the point of no return, really. He kind of hooks up with him right away. And the reason why is because Raj is kind of a brilliant computer scientist, and he does some stuff that impresses Lee to the point that he wants to own him. And that's kind of the way it works. He saw something in this kid and he wants it, and he gets what he wants.
Right. I mean, it's the whole thing with Lee is the real power. I mean, the real dark power that enters into it and explains to and gets Raj deeper into the practices. And there's one of the paragraphs here that what you have an encounter with Lee, and there's this photo that he's looking at, and Lee's own family by this Mr. Desmond had been selected for the blood ritual sacrifice. Now, what's the blood ritual sacrifice?
Well, there's a lot of different ones. The blood rituals are the most important. Those are the ones that you get the most power from, and it involves sacrifice. And the more innocent the victim, the more power you get. That's why they choose children and infants. Yeah. So then there's the gravy rituals. Everybody has to do the gravy rituals. It's just this, everybody in Hollywood, everybody in Motown, everybody has done them. If they say they haven't. I was listening to Terrence Howard the other day. So we're trying to backpedal his way out of that. He's like, I didn't really do it. Well, you couldn't. There's no way you could have got where you are if you didn't. And then there's the humiliation rituals, which are kind of constant. And it's just a way of controlling people, is to put them through these humiliation. You see that in Hollywood a lot. Every time a macho actor wears a dress, that's a humiliation ritual. Every time they make him take a role that makes him look stupid. I mean, if I was a Hollywood actor, I would only take certain roles because I would want to, foster a certain look. But they make them do whatever they want them to do, and a lot of it's humiliating. And it's just to show they didn't used to do that. I mean, they kind of did it a little bit back in the old days, but they do it to everybody now. They have to control these people.
And so it's control is a lot of it, and
it's all extortion. It's all blackmail.
Yeah, once you engage this behavior, now you're subject to blackmail.
Right, and that's the problem they had with me, was because I didn't care. There was nobody they could blackmail me to. Who are they going to tell? Nobody cared, and the ones that did care were either dead or missing. So I'm talking about me in particular. So it made it easy, not easy, but it made it more possible for me to get out of there, because I wasn't afraid. I mean, I'm talking about it right now, right? So you can't blackmail me with it.
Right. And one of the scenes, who's Malcolm? Describe Malcolm.
Malcolm sort of represents their hitman, their typical hitman. And I knew a couple of Malcolm. The one in particular, it's funny. He looked a lot like that FBI guy, Peter Strozik, or the creepy FBI guy.
Yeah, Peter.
He had they had the same look, that same creepy,
demonic.
Yeah, I mean, that something's controlling them. I don't mean to talk about him, But
No, I mean, it's just it certainly he looked bizarre somehow or other.
yeah. So I ran into a lot. I was surprised that they put him out there because that bizarre look, I've seen it a lot, and you don't really see it. It's one of those hidden guys. They don't come out too often, and when they do come out, something serious is happening. So that would be the guy that would facilitate the Red Scarf murder or Red Scarf suicide.
In fact, who is Annie in the story?
I don't remember.
Anne,
I had to rename everybody.
They murdered Anne in her bedroom. Lee and Malcolm with his dark sunglasses and black leather gloves. They murdered.
Yeah, that was probably the Lee Nelson's ex-wife or previous wife.
Yes,
or wife. Yeah.
She finds him waiting when she gets out of her morning shower, while Malcolm strangles Anne with one of her own scarves face down on the bed. He pokes her in a vein behind the knee with a large needle and holds the silk handkerchief against the wound until Anne is dead.
Right. So they're the handkerchiefs with the death blood. That's the trophy. That's what
that's the trophy. That's you collect. Yeah. So they put that in a plastic sandwich baggie. And Malcolm hangs Anne's body by the neck with a scarf over the knob of the bathroom door, making it look like a suicide. They tosses the fake suicide letter next to her body, cuts a lock of her hair and stuffs it into a cigar tube. Souvenir, he says, in a sinister voice. This doesn't look right naked like that. Put some clothes on this thing and meet me in the car. Malcolm instructs Lee. He goes to the bathroom and returns with Annie's underwear, bra, and bathrobe. He dresses her in a hurry without emotion, stares at her lifeless body, then wipes his hands on his trousers and leaves. So it's all kind of emotionless, but yet very sinister. And
but by the time someone like Lee has reached that point, he doesn't see everybody else as people anymore. They really believe that they have evolved in their own lifetime into something grander, something godlike. By going to all these rituals, because again, when you're in these places, and I didn't get that deep into it. I got deep enough to where it was pretty scary, and it's affected my entire life. But when you start doing this routinely and you're seeking it out, I mean, can you imagine what that does to a person? What that does to a person's own self-image? They really believe that they have real power. In a way, they do.
Right, and the next scene. Lee is eating sea bass and bloody steak. And this yacht broker comes and he signs a check for $1,505,000 and hands it to Frazier, who's overwhelmed by having such a large check in his possession. He's a yacht broker all his life. He's been one, and rarely does anybody pay cash. And so, again, it's the evil nature, so much money, so much success, and it's right on top of him having killed this Anne, who was his wife.
Yeah, it was his wife,
and done again in one of the Red Scarf killings.
Right. So that would be considered a blood ritual. So blood rituals can be that, or it could be a group of people sacrificing something, a human, usually an infant. The movie Mother, I think I sent you the clip where they actually show that ritual, and I've had where they're sacrificing a baby. I think it was Elizabeth Hurley or something was the star.
Yes,
but other people have seen that, and I've had people come to me and say, well, that's just artistic representation of the Catholic Eucharist. The baby represents Jesus. Like, that's okay, fine. You believe that, and but their claim is that's where I got it. It's like, no, I was talking about this years before that movie came out. A lot of people were, not just me. I was barely talking about it, but there was people talking about it years. You and I were talking about it before.
We were talking about it years before, but the whole undertone of this, and as it gets deeper and deeper into the book, you begin to understand more deeply the blood rituals, the killing of babies, the producing of the fear in babies, which then they take this drug out of the baby's blood. What is the drug?
Well, they create something called adrenochrome. I knew it as chrome. I didn't know what it was back then, and that's the truth. I didn't know what it was. I think I had it once, but we call it getting chromed.
Very powerful.
Yeah, and so the victims that they use in the blood rituals aren't the ones that they drain to get the adrenochrome. That's a whole different manufacturing center. That's for like Epstein's baby farm. That's what those are for.
For adrenochrome.
Yeah, that's where they.
But it involves frightening the child in order to get these, I guess, hormones into the bloodstream, which they then mine.
Yeah, the whole thing is very scientific, very very biological. They have it down to a science. That's why they choose children too, is because children can't control their fear responses as well as adults, and they overload very quickly, especially when they start crying, and they get in that weird sort of hyperventilating mode. That's kind of what they're striving for. Adults don't really do that anymore, but children do. Once they get into that hyperventilating mode, then they reach a point that they're ready for harvest. I really hate talking like this, but it's a fact of life.
Well, I mean, again, we're talking about these things not to sensationalize them, but because it's important for everybody to understand what goes on.
It is, and people are, like I said, I can see it. People are catching. I never thought I would talk about. I never thought I would be doing this right now. I mean, I'm old enough now that doesn't scare me. What are they going to do? But there's enough people talking about it now that something's going to happen one way or another. Something soon is going to happen.
Well, I think just the writing of the book and creating of this part of the website of Corsi Nation is shocking a lot of people. But what happens with this book is you read it, at first it seems like it's hard to keep going, and then it gets addictive. I mean, you read it right to the end. And people get to be fascinated with it in terms of, as deeper and deeper, the darker and darker it gets. And then there's an attempt by Raj to pull out of it, which is equally difficult, because you don't leave this cult easily. You lose everything, and in the process of losing everything, you're abandoned and left hopeless. Mm-hmm. No money, no connections, nobody responding to your phone calls.
And especially for someone like Raj, who doesn't really, there's nobody really to go to at that point. There's no network, there's no family, there's nothing left. It's just, that makes it even hard. It makes it harder, but also makes it a lot easier. It's easier to hide, but it makes it really hard to going out on your own, completely on your own like that is difficult.
Well, the summoning up of this dark power and the living of this Luciferian hatred and what it leads to in terms of the sexual rituals or the blood rituals or the suicides, or all of these things are in a sense demonic, because they're counter life. They hate life. They're filled with hate. They're destructive.
Right.
And there's nothing positive about any of this. The pleasure is taken at someone else's pain or embarrassment or abuse, mm-hmm. or torture or murder. And the pleasure derived from that is the heightened experience, the heightened appreciation of a higher level in which this kind of behavior is an expression of power, mm-hmm. dark power. And the worshiping of that dark power.
And as you know, I was very apprehensive about writing this book, because I thought people would either consider me some kind of monster or a liar. But I'm finding that people really aren't doing either. They're actually bona fidely interested, not in a morbid way, but in I need to know more about this, because I'm seeing it too. We're starting to see it too. I want to know more.
Well, as more interviews we do, the more accessible we make it to people, the more we start talking about it, the more I think people are going to want to read it and want to know more in depth what it's all about. And it took you a long time to do the first one, and to learn how to write and to learn how to tell a story and to construct the characters and make the narrative flow. But I think you come a long way in that ability. And these are going
that's a result of hooking up with you, which to me is a God thing. I mean, I couldn't have written this book if I hadn't ran into you.
But the fact that it's written is, your experience, what you went through, and that you got out of it, allows you now to expose this world for what it is. And so things that people experience and watch on television and see, happening in Hollywood or happening in New York City or happening in any of the glitterati, which look bizarre, fits into this dark power logic, which is fundamentally destroying other people, destroying their dignity, destroying their sexuality, destroying their families, destroying their image of themselves, demeaning rituals, which are very, very base.
Right, everything is the exact opposite of the love of God.
It's exactly. It has nothing to do with nurturing God, love, advance. It's all negative destruction, and the power is all negative destruction. So it's the best comprehension, I think, through this story that you can get of what evil is really like. And it's kind of banal. I mean, it's kind of almost pathetic. It's so bizarre and evil that you'd say, how can anyone possibly indulge in this, except that it has the dominance over another. It has the characteristic of power and serving evil. And as such, it becomes seductive.
Mm-hmm.
You'd agree?
I do, especially when you're rewarded so greatly.
Yeah, and these are the ones who succeed. Everything they do touches to gold. Everything they touch comes to gold. And
so as you're going down that path, you can see the people at the other end, and these are the people that are the richest people on the planet.
Yeah,
and that's where you're heading. That how else it's amazing that you're even on that path, and you want to get there. You want to be one of those. I want to have 7 mansions, all over the world, big bunker.
Well, I'm going to recommend that everybody get and read the Silicon Satan, and get into understanding what we're really seeing in this Luciferian elite, and the power, the prestige, the privilege that these people are awarded comes from these dark arts of rituals that are almost so frightening they're hard to read the first time. After you've read it a bit and after you've gotten into it, you become kind of desensitized to it. And even then it's frightening, because you begin to find yourself understanding and accepting this as a world that's, viable, that it exists, that it's hidden and dark. And the seductive power of that is great. And so you have to make a decision. Which path are you going to go down? And I think we're seeing increasingly more people are understanding and waking up to say they reject this path.
Mm-hmm. It's not just keeping people off the path. It's getting rid of the people. It's getting rid of the path. You got to get rid of the path. I mean, first of all, people don't need to be that rich. They don't need to be that wealthy. I saw a study where if you divide all the wealth in the world, everybody gets $15,000 per lifetime. So why do these people have so much? They're never going to spend it. It's just power and position and
self-glorification.
Exactly. Yeah.
The
solution is to get rid of. The solution is to make. I remember my grandfather was wealthy, but he was embarrassed by it. He hid his wealth, and everybody did. All the men did back then. Wealth was something you just kind of kept quiet. You didn't brag about it. Now you brag. Not only you brag about it, greed is considered a good thing.
All right. Well, Cregg, thanks for coming back, and we'll do more of this. We'll get deeper into the story. We'll read more of it. We'll watch we'll get into what's on the website and look at some of these videos. There's quite a bit more. I want to make this a regular feature of the show. Okay. I want to build you as an author, get people to pay attention to the works and get into it, because I think it's only accessible through the fictionalization of it, which makes it readable and understandable in terms of the psychology, but it's still horrific.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me again.
Okay, well, it's great pleasure to have you here. In the sense, it's never easy, it's never really fun, but the pleasure in it is I want to shed light on this, and the pleasure is really in the uncovering and the illuminating this darkness, because it's ultimately weak, it's ultimately self-destructive, it's ultimately a lie. And
Yes.
once people understand that, it loses its attractiveness. But again, it's going to be an exploration into darkness in order to emerge back into the light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's Dr. Jerome Corsi, and we've been talking with Cregg Lund, who's the author of Silicon Satan. We have a section of the website at CorsiNation.com dedicated to Cregg's continuing writing. You get to see the new novel in progress and sections being published on CorsiNation.com with animations. And it's a fascinating topic. And I think we're going to, ultimately, I see this could be a series in Netflix or a series somewhere or other, because this is going to have to be dramatized. Going to have to be shown to people in a way that it becomes mass market property, and shown for the fact that it is evil and has got to be resisted. Okay, Dr. Jerome Corsi, thank you for joining us. In the end, God always wins. God will win here too. And I think in the spirit of 2 Chronicles 7:14, we have to ask God to forgive us for letting it get to this evil point. And God will hear our prayer and heal our land. Any final thoughts, Cregg, today?
Nope. I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for joining us. This CorsiNation.com. We're doing podcasts every weekday. Thank you for joining us. God bless.